Hey everyone, my name is Daniel and welcome back to the Finance Channel. I hope all you're having a great day out there. As always, here today, I want to talk to you all about Bitcoin going to $100,000 by December 31st of 2021. Not just going through the reasoning behind this, the potential it has to actually happen, but also going through some of the potential implications this has for other cryptocurrency related stocks, altcoins, things within the industry, and my opinion on it as a whole. So if you end up enjoying this video and potentially finding some value in it, please consider subscribing. And with that out of the way, let's get into the video. So when we talk about Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency industry, we have seen a lot of optimism around crypto over the past couple of weeks. I mean, we went from literally peak fear, uncertainty, and doubt just a couple of weeks ago back in June, beginning of July, to a significant rebound in the price of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies in just the past week. Bitcoin going from under $30,000 per coin to over $40,000 within the span of just 1 week. Now, talking about this optimism, the question of Bitcoin potentially rebounding even higher and going to upwards of $100,000 per coin has been talked about yet again, and people like Steve Ehrlich, the CEO and co-founder of Voyager Digital, one of the biggest cryptocurrency brokerages out there, said, quote, "After a period of trading in range, I believe that Bitcoin and crypto will increase substantially by year end. My price prediction is that Bitcoin will approach $100,000 by December 31st of 2021. The continued adoption of cryptocurrency will continue to accelerate through the year." So Steve Ehrlich, someone, CEO of Voyager, this is a company that I am heavily invested in when it comes to their stock, their native cryptocurrency. He believes that cryptocurrencies will increase in potentially perception and optimism in the back half of the year, and we may see a situation where Bitcoin goes to over 6 figures in value. Now, what are the chances of this happening? What is the potential? Well, what we kind of look at Bitcoin, one thing that we have to understand about Bitcoin is that, at least in my opinion and from my understanding, it is one of the least innovative cryptocurrencies out there. I mean, you have coins like Ethereum, Cardano, which are very, very innovative, releasing new products, new features, expanding their network on a very high level, while Bitcoin, it mainly just has one goal, and that is to be a store of value. Bitcoin hasn't really changed over the past decade since it was brought to existence by, whether it be Satoshi Nakamoto or someone else back after the, a Great Recession. But at the end of the day, Bitcoin has one purpose, and that makes it very easy to potentially, value and understand. But when we talk about Bitcoin, its main goal is to be a store of value. And let me explain this. I have a bit of a whiteboard here just to kind of put this into a little bit more perspective. When we look at Bitcoin, there is a finite amount of Bitcoins out there. I think it's a little over 20 million. Either way, doesn't really matter. It's finite. It is the opposite of unlimited. It is not unlimited. It is finite. When we talk about something like potentially a stock or the US dollar, let's use the US dollar in this situation, there is an unlimited amount of US dollars out there. The government can continue printing USD as much and as often as they would like, which we have seen, again, come into fruition throughout 2020 as COVID shutdowns came to existence, stimulus packages and whatnot, caused a surge in printing of USD. Now, this devalues USD. When we talk about printing, it devalues it. It dilutes the amount of US dollars out there. When we look at Bitcoin, it doesn't dilute. It's actually, in fact, deflationary. And the goal is that, hey, as Bitcoin adoption increases, you're going to see the price increase because there's a set amount out there. As demand increases, the price will go up. So it's very simple. With Bitcoin, it's simply supply and demand, and that's how you value it. How many Bitcoins are there out there? How many people are willing to buy? Some people consider this a bit of a hedge against potential inflation, which, is very apparent in countries like potentially Venezuela, which have been experiencing very high levels of inflation over not just the past couple of years, but also the past couple of decades. So when we look at Bitcoin and its purpose, being a store of value, will it potentially increase upwards of 150% to over $100,000 per coin over just the next 143 days? Well, that's the question we need to ask ourselves. And the biggest question is, what will propel Bitcoin to go up to potentially those very high levels? Well, first we have to understand what's going to move Bitcoin. Obviously, we know it's supply and demand. So what is going to cause an increase in demand? As we know, supply isn't going to change. It's all about demand, which in my opinion is strongly correlated to perception. Perception is potentially optimism or pessimism. How many people think Bitcoin is a good thing? Well, when we look at Bitcoin, it is pretty much the most dominant cryptocurrency out there. When you talk about the crypto industry to someone on a street, they may say, oh yeah, Bitcoin, right? Yeah, no, that's the cryptocurrency. But looking at Bitcoin, what's going to cause a change in perception? Well, we just talked about Bitcoin having a lack of innovation, being much slower than things like Cardano and Ethereum, and really just being used as a store of value, as that's been essentially the one that has been chosen as a store of value. It's not like Bitcoin is much different than other potential deflationary cryptocurrencies. The market is choosing Bitcoin as the dominant crypto out there. So what's going to change perception? Well, first and foremost, it's not going to be something with potentially a change in Bitcoin like we see with potentially something like Cardano, which is releasing their smart contracts throughout the summer. Some people think that's a bullish catalyst for Cardano. It's more likely than not probably not going to be some form of change with Bitcoin itself. Although if something does happen, that may be a positive catalyst to watch, but highly unlikely, at least in my opinion. But when we look at potential things that could drive crypto prices higher or potentially create more optimism, which changes perception, which leads to more demand, it's probably going to be one of two things. And that first and foremost is inflation. Are we going to see continued inflation throughout the remainder of the year? As we know, Bitcoin a hedge against inflation, or at least that is what it's labeled as, at least at this point. If we see continued optimism when it comes to a potential, a continuation of inflation in the coming months here, that may be a sign that crypto and Bitcoin will continue to rally over the coming weeks and over the coming months up until December 31st of 2021. Now, whether that happens or not remains to be seen. But looking at the potential second catalyst for Bitcoin, well, it's simply regulation. If we get more clarity when it comes to regulation around the cryptocurrency industry, that could be viewed as a big positive, as currently pretty much the biggest risk that I see with cryptocurrencies is regulation and the government potentially causing a ban in cryptos, which although is rather small, at least in my opinion, when it comes to a flat out ban, it's definitely a possibility, and it's something that is potentially suppressing the price of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, at least at this moment in time. If we get more clarification when it comes to regulation in the industry, that can be viewed as a big positive, and that risk may start to go away. Now, when it comes to regulation, we still don't have much clarity on this. And people like Steve Ehrlich, the CEO of Voyager Digital, the biggest broker, one of the biggest brokers out there when it comes to cryptocurrencies, believes that we will see thoughtful regulation in the future, and that will be viewed as a positive, but in potentially rather bringing in new people to the crypto industry. A regulated industry is much of a safer industry and is viewed safer in the eyes of potentially American or worldwide citizens. So when we look at inflation and regulation, if we see a lot of positives around this, that may cause a surge in cryptocurrency prices, especially Bitcoin. Now, when we look at the implications of a potential increase of Bitcoin prices to potentially the six-figure range, it's got a lot of implications. And at the end of the day, most of them are very positive. If you're invested in a cryptocurrency stock, whether that be a broker like Voyager Digital or potentially a crypto mining stock, everyone benefits from an increase in crypto prices. If you're a miner, you make more money, more profit off of each Bitcoin mined. If you are a cryptocurrency broker, higher prices, more optimism, more demand generally leads to higher volumes within the industry, which, as we know, Voyager Digital, they make the most amount of money when volume is very high. So talking about implications for stocks in the cryptocurrency industry, it is a flat out positive. Now, looking at potential altcoins, one of the things that I've noticed in the crypto industry, and this is something that is very apparent, is that Bitcoin almost rather acts to the crypto industry as the S&P 500 acts to stocks across the board. When the S&P 500, which is an index of 500 of America's largest companies, moves up in a major way, let's say that's 1, 2, 3% in a single day, you're more likely than not going to see a majority of stocks green for that day. If Bitcoin is up, you're going to see 99.9% of cryptocurrencies up in a very similar fashion. While if Bitcoin is down, most cryptos are going to be down. So at the end of the day, an increase in Bitcoin prices, more likely than not, going to see an increase in other cryptocurrencies and other altcoins out there, whether that be Cardano, Polkadot, the VGX token, a Litecoin, etc. It's a straight out positive for a lot of those smaller altcoins. Now, when we talk about the potential negatives, as we've talked about a lot of positives here, well, When we talk about Bitcoin increasing in such a substantial way, it would show that the trend that we've seen over the past decade plus is continuing to move on. And when I talk about that trend, it's roughly the 4-year trend where Bitcoin goes, again, from a bear market to a period of consolidation, and then slowly rebounds into a bull market after Bitcoin's halving, which makes it twice as difficult to mine each Bitcoin. But either way, when we talk about these cycles, 2021 should technically be the end of Bitcoin's bull market, and the end of 2021, the back half of 2021, should be the most bullish when we see the most upward price action in the crypto industry throughout the past 4 years. So if we see a substantial increase in cryptocurrency prices, potentially over $100,000, that could be a sign that we will see some form of bear market leading into 2022, which, as we know, the bear markets in cryptocurrencies generally are pretty dang nasty with drops of well over 50%. But, either way, we're trading at $40,000. If Bitcoin goes up to 100K, you're going to need to see a 60% drop to go back to where we are here today. So either way, when we talk about the potential negative, it's very difficult to predict what's going to happen in 2022. Will we see a bear market? Will we not? That remains to be seen. But if we see an increase in cryptocurrency prices to potentially over $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 per Bitcoin, which if you technically follow the trend we saw back in 2018, Bitcoin should go to those levels. It will be pretty apparent that we will see some form of crash in the future. But I mean, at $300,000 per Bitcoin, that would be a pretty nice return, needless to say. But either way, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. When it comes to a potential crash in cryptocurrencies throughout 2022, what are the thoughts of, or what are the chances of this, and what are your opinions on it as a whole? Now, when I look at my thoughts on Bitcoin going to $100,000 per coin, I think it's very, very likely as long as optimism rebounds in the crypto sector. Voyager Digital CEO Steve Ehrlich believes crypto, and rather Bitcoin as a whole, will go to $100,000 per coin by December 1st of 31st of 2021. And with that, he's also very, very bullish on the industry and the perception of the industry. So if perception changes, I think it's likely. But if we see a continued maybe pessimism and maybe doubt about the crypto industry, it may be difficult to break that 6-figure range. But either way, it's very difficult to predict crypto prices. It's more of a bet in the short term than anything else. But, hey, if you believe in these cryptos longer term, dollar cost averaging is, in my opinion, one of the best things to do. This video, in fact, is pretty much all speculation. So take it with a grain of salt and do what you will. But either way, I want to stay long-term focused with my investments. I believe in Voyager Digital as a platform, the crypto industry, and we'll see if Bitcoin goes to $100,000. I'll make a video on December 31st. We'll see what happens. But either way, thank you all so much for watching this video. If you found some value in it, please consider subscribing. And with that out of the way, see you in the next one.